not here? Yeah, everybody's on. Right, I've come all the way from Leamington Spa, but Leamington Warwick Mud Society. But I live in Nuneaton, which is a little shipping town. Apparently you can catch something there. But it took me an hour to get here. It would have been a lot quicker if I hadn't been stopped by the police. And you know what it's like when you're stopped by the police, ladies and gentlemen? They walk up to the car, very slow walk, like that. And this particular policeman, but to be fair, I only stopped because he was a level-headed policeman, chip on both shoulders. But he walked up to my car, put his head in my window. I had to laugh because I hadn't opened it. And he said, "Where were you between 3 and 5? I said, "At nursery. Where were you?" He said, "Oh, a comedian, eh?" I said, "No, a magician." He said, "I'm going to book you." And the upshot of it, what's he going to learn my prices? And the upshot of it all, ladies and gentlemen, he accused me of being a helium balloon. He held me for a while and then let me go. But, oh no, I can wait, don't I? After a long journey like that, I did have to use the little boys' room, so I popped into the executive washroom just here at the Bramford Working Man's Club. Imagine my surprise when I found this hanging in the executive washroom. Little pieces of paper. I mean, look at this one. Are the days of Advent calendars numbered? Or this one. A teenage magician that uses a trapdoor to disappear during his act told his parents not to worry, it was a stage he was going through. Or this one. An advert for blindfold archery. If you haven't tried it, you don't know what you're missing. Oh, look at this. Oh, human cannibal required. Job vacancy because the last bloke got fired. But this is my favourite one, ladies and gentlemen. Gravestone for sale. One previous owner would suit someone called Justin Taylor. And these pieces of paper are just hanging in the toilet and I couldn't work out why. And then I had an epiphany. It dawned on me. It's the Daily Telegraph. And we all like to read. And I will read that later. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to do the special event of the day, something dangerous. So they gave me a rope, a piece of rope. Now, there's lots of famous rope tricks in the magic vicinity. There is the very famous Indian rope trick, a trick so famous that even the esteemed Magic Circle have offered a reward for the secret. Now, if you've never seen the Indian rope trick, ladies and gentlemen, what happens is the magician throws the rope in the air. A little boy climbs to the top, big puff of smoke, little boy disappears, and the rope falls down. I haven't quite grasped the Indian rope trick. I have got the Australian rope trick down to a T. Yes, I didn't laugh at the first time I heard that either. But one of my favourite tricks, ladies and gentlemen, with a rope is where you hold the two ends in your hand and you tie the knot in the rope without letting go of the ends. Of course, if you then take a little piece of, or some pollen from the hocus crocus, it's a very magical flower, you can take the knot off. Of course, if you give a magician a rope, he will always cut it. And I'm no exception, so I will cut this piece of rope. There we are. One cut gives 2 pieces of rope. 2 pieces of rope have 4 ends, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. If you tie the 2 bits at the top, nice big knot. You have one piece of string tied in the middle with a knot. A little bit of more pollen from the hocus crocus. Give it time to work, and the knot pops off, leaving you with what you started. Now, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I was once asked to divulge the secret of this particular rope trick. My answer was, of course, afraid not. But now is a certain time I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. So please put your hands together and welcome ring 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I call it ring 1 for a number of reasons. The first is a solid steel metal ring with a hole in the middle. The second, he's from Mexico, hence his name, ring 1. And the third reason I call him ring 1 is to differentiate him from his friends. I'll introduce you to his friends as well. So this is ring 1. This is ring 2. This is ring 3. And this is ring 4. Ring 3 and 4 go over my head, and you blow and rub ring 1, and they join. But there are those in this world that do not believe these two rings to be joined. So would you unlink them for me, madam? Thank you so much. While you're doing that, I will show everybody else rings 3 and 4. Rings 3 and 4, ladies and gentlemen, made apart, made from a steel so strong that even the gods couldn't join them. Ever have one of those days? Of course, it really doesn't matter whether you believe these two joined rings to be separate, or these two separate rings to be joined. They've got to be one or the other. And yours are joined, madam, aren't they? Thank you very much. Oh, look at that. 88. 2 fat ladies. What, no bingo fans in tonight? That's a shame, you've got to run a line. Ladies and gentlemen, these are my friends. This is ring 4. And this is ring 3. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. What if one of these rings became ill and couldn't work? Well, it happened to me the other day, ladies and gentlemen. Ring 3 became ill, you wouldn't believe what, with whooping cough. And one day he had ringworm. You wouldn't believe it. But ring 3 is very clever because he has to do all the other jobs. He has to know how to join, and he has to know how to unjoin. But ring 5 is very flamboyant, and he likes to show off. And he likes to make little patterns. This is currently his favourite. Now, he hasn't told me why it's favourite, and he hasn't told me what's it called. But apparently it's his favourite. And with a little blow and a little shake. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, the rings. Now I just think it is about time for me to do some magic with patter in rhyme. Because over here I have 2 strings, both of which do funny things. Up and down you see them go. How it works, I just don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not all. At the end of each string is a little white ball. Now this one's ping and that one's pong. Ping is short and pong is long. By pulling ping, pong goes short. It's the craziest thing I've ever brought. To some, of course, it may appear to be one string that goes through here. But if that is so, how can it be? It still works now. It worries me. I've just had a thought on how it's done. The strings, of course, this way run, down the sticks and through the end. The strings, like me, quite round the bend. But when the sticks are separate so, still ping goes high, when pong goes low. And if at all it should all go wrong, and both your strings, they end up long, to make the problem disappear, I have another ball right here. Now this ball has a name like the others you know. Remember ping and pong? Well, this is po. By pulling po until he's taut, both the other strings, they end up short. And all that's left for me right now is to put back po and take a bow. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a magic audience. If you've enjoyed the magic, my name's been Matt Redmond. If you haven't, my name is Dynamo. Thank you very much.